Hello guys, and welcome back to another one with us, the Review Bros, and I know we have had quite a delay on reviewing this one, so we do apologise, but today we're finally getting into it and letting you know what we think of it. It is, of course, Legit Pre by Legit Pharma. How will it compare to the other greats in the high stim realm? I'm sure you guys know them. As we cover the usuals, taste, price, label and effects all coming at you, will it be your next high stim pre-workout? Pray for me with this one. And if you're new to the channel, please do like the video, hit the sub button, hit the bell icon, all the usuals. It really does help us out with the old algorithms. But let's get into this review. Okay, first segment, taste and mixability, and we've got the pleasure of trying out Watermelon Splash, and it also comes in cherry and apple. Possibly would have gone for cherry if it was me choosing as a consumer, but watermelons can sometimes be decent. Will this be the case? It's my first time using this pre-workout. Aaron's used it a couple of times, so obviously we're going to be talking back and forth to formulate our decision, you know, what we think of the effects, so stay tuned for that. We will get there, of course. So anyway, whacked it in. Mixability looks okay, you know, no worse than normal. In fact, maybe a little bit better than normal. Don't see any giant clumps sitting at the bottom, so that's a good start. And it all sort of goes as you drink anyway, so there's no problems there. Let's see how it tastes. It's a bit funky, a little bit of a spiciness on the back end there. Definitely a watermelon flavour, bit of sourness there. Let's give it another go. Bit chalky, bit sour, a little bit chemically. Comes to be expected, but overall I think it's not actually that bad for a high stim pre, considering what's in it when we get onto that. So I think they've done a respectable job. I'd be happy to give it a 7 out of 10, a safe bet. It's doable, you won't struggle, it's good enough. Let's get into the price. Okay, let's talk price. So what are we going to be paying to get stimmed off our chops with this pre-workout? Well, you head over to gymsanctuary.com where you can use our discount code RB10. Works on all products on their page. You can pick this up for £33.44 for 25 legit full servings. And when you break that down, that comes to £1.34 per serving. And whether you're new or not to the channel, you may or may not know that we do have a consistent pricing scale that measures how expensive pre-workouts are. So we can get a feel for if we're getting ripped off or if we're getting a bargain, you know, that kind of thing. 5 out of 10 on our scale is considered to be an absolute average price point for pre-workouts on the market these days. And this one comes in at a 6.5 out of 10. So it's priced a decent amount cheaper or better value than your average pre-workout. Well, actually the value will determine more in the effects and the label, but let's just say it's cheaper than your average pre-workout on the market. Now normally with these high stim pre-workouts, they're very much sought after because ingredients are being banned more and more, you know how it goes. So companies are often pricing this type of product very expensive. So I will say that for the type of product it is, at least on face value, seems to be a very good deal. But obviously, let's get into the label and the effects and we'll see what's going on. Okay guys, it's the label time. Let's see what I've just set myself up for, shall we? So this pre-workout is promising hardcore energy, pump and focus. So bear that in mind when we go through the label, the ingredients panel. It says here on the side as well, feel the greatness. I really do hope that I do feel great on it. Right, let's get into it. So 1 scoop, 12.3 grams. Probably a little bit on the lighter side as pre-workout serving amounts go these days, even for a higher stim. But you know, size isn't everything, they say, apparently. Let's get into it. L-citrulline, 5 grams. Pure L-citrulline, a decent dose. You know, 5 grams is good enough. Anything over 4 and you're pretty much laughing. Any more than 10 and you're pretty much questioning why you're taking so much. But it's an amino acid and it's responsible for bumping up your nitric oxide levels, widening those veins, increasing blood flow, increasing the nutrient delivery to the muscle cell and swelling you out with that nasty, juicy pump. So we'll take that, Bearing in mind it's a higher stim pre, we'll take the pumps as well if we can. Then we've got beta-alanine, another amino acid at 3.2 grams, which is the amount we look for. It's an ingredient you've got to take for a continuous amount of time to build it up in your system to reach that saturation point, similar to creatine in that sense. And when you do, it will help with your endurance in terms of helping to buffer lactic acid, so you can get an extra rep or two here and there, possibly. but it also gives that itchy, tingly sensation when it kicks in, you know, the paresthesia type feel. So hopefully we get it here because we're big fans of it on the channel, generally speaking. Then we've got agmatine sulfate at 1 gram. A nice dose, you see this anything from as little as 500 milligrams up to a couple of grams. 1 gram is a solid dose. That is another nitric oxide boosting ingredient that's going to work alongside the L-citrulline, and it's also been known to prolong pumps as well, to help you to stay pumped for longer. So there should be a nice synergistic effect between the two, and companies have been using those duo of ingredients for a long time, and it's always been a success. Then we have L-arginine hydrochloride at 1 gram, hydrochloride, should I say, at 1 gram. Again, that is going to pair alongside the L-citrulline to further bump up nitric oxide levels, further increase blood flow and pump. So actually, it's looking like a fairly pumpy pre-workout so far, and we're not done yet, so fair play to it. So yeah, L-citrulline is a precursor to L-arginine, so putting them together, there should be, again, another nice synergistic effect there. Then we've got L-norvaline, another amino acid at 250 milligrams, a nice dose as it goes for that ingredient. This is known as an arginase inhibitor, and the main benefit of this ingredient is that it, again, can help to prolong pumps. So it's going to stop your body from breaking down the nitric oxide and reducing the size of your veins. The L-norvaline is going to say hold your horses, and it's going to keep those veins widened for longer in layman's terms. So again, we're getting more pumps and we're staying pumped for longer. And then we have caffeine anhydrous at 250 milligrams, which is actually quite a low dose for a high stim pre-workout, even for a pre-workout in general. It's still 2.5 cups worth of coffee though, so it's not like you're not getting anything. It's just a bit lower than the average. The average for pre-workouts, I'd say, as a straight caffeine dose is probably 3 to 350 milligrams, but you will still feel it, believe me, and well, unless you're extremely caffeine insensitive. But yeah, it's going to wake you up and get you moving. It's the main stimulant in any pre-workout. Most other ingredients sort of sit on top of the caffeine. It's kind of the main backbone for everything else to work. Then we've got N-phenylethyl dimethylamine citrate, 250 milligrams, which is also known as a reagerensis. Another stimulant. It's kind of in the grey area to a degree in terms of, like, it's not totally legal everywhere. It's sort of frowned upon. Well, frowned upon depending on what country you're from. But anyway, it's going to help with more stimulation, more energy, more focus, more drive, and it is touted as a natural replacement of a DMHA type feel. But do take that with a pinch of salt, because we always find it to be very mild in comparison to those type ingredients. But that doesn't really matter, because guess what's up next? 2-amino-isoheptane, 150 milligrams, which is in fact DMHA. So obviously legit are just going, don't care if it's allowed or not, it's going in my pre-workout. And that is that hardcore stimulant, grey area, now considered black area ingredient. You know, it's banned in most places. I don't know the exact regulations of every country, but as far as I know, it's pretty much off the table. But it's in here, so they're a dying breed in terms of finding pre-workouts with this ingredient in it for a start. So 150 milligrams is probably actually on the more moderate-ish side. You know, we've seen pre-workouts of 250, 300, maybe even more than 300 milligrams at some point or another of DMHA, but of course it depends on the dose, on the purity of the ingredient, you know, how potent is it, how well sourced is it. So, you know, dosage isn't always the be-all end-all, but it's still a decent amount, don't get me wrong. That's going to help with that focus, drive, energy, stimulation, give you a real kick up the bum. It's probably one of the main ingredients in this formula that you're actually going to feel, and it can also elicit that euphoric, floaty type sensation, which us and a lot of people, I'm sure, quite enjoy. Although if you're new to pre-workouts, it'll probably be a bit of a shock to you. You might have a mild freak out. But then we've got caffeine citrate, 100 milligrams, which is a 50% caffeine yield, which obviously adds on another 50 earlier, so to the amount early. So we've got a total of 300 milligrams of caffeine so far. Now, caffeine citrate is a very fast-acting form of caffeine, so it's going to hit almost instantaneously, even before the caffeine anhydrous, to get that heart rate up and get you moving immediately, well, almost immediately. Then we have geranium extract, 75 milligrams, which is known to be the natural form of DMAA. Another banned black area ingredient that's not allowed in supplements anymore, but it is the natural version of it. So they might have done a little spinneroonie, you know, dip, duck and dive around that with this one, but it should carry the same sort of effects as DMAA in terms of that hard hitting stimulation, high energy, super focus, Superman type feeling, which pairing up with the already aforementioned DMHA and urea diuresis should make for an absolute trifecta of damage in the gym. Like, the weights are going to get an absolute walloping after you take this pre-workout, I am sure. And I'm excited to get down the gym and do it after this. Actually, I've got back and biceps today, so wish me luck. Yeah, so another heavy duty ingredient and a respectable dose as well as far as it goes. Then we got dicaffeine malate at 50 milligrams, which is a 75% yield of caffeine, I believe. So we're getting like another, I don't know the maths off the top of my head, what is it, between 30 odd milligrams of caffeine on top. So we're getting about 330 milligrams of caffeine total here, including the dicaffeine malate addition. And that is a slow release version of caffeine. So it's going to kick in slowly and release later on after the caffeine anhydrous has weaned off, to sort of extend the energy and the lifeline of the product. Then we wrap off with, oh actually no, we're not wrapping off yet, bear with me. We've got Noopept up next, which is 25 milligrams, a nice dose. That's a nootropic, Noopept nootropic. You know, we like to reference little backstories and things like that occasionally with ingredients. And this is one of those ones that I think was a big thing at some point in time with university students spamming it to get dialed in to smash through their coursework and exams and stuff like that. You can use it as a standalone ingredient, so when it's thrown in a pre-workout amongst other ingredients as well, we can only imagine what sort of results we're going to get. But again, yet another focused, dialed in, tunneled in type feeling ingredient. Yeah, it's a stacked label, guys. It's a very interesting one to say the least. And we're not done yet, because we wrap off with Rolfia vermotora extract, which is alpha-himbine at 1 milligram, which is a really nice dose, we would consider. So it's a decent dose. We find typically that if the dose goes above sort of like 2 milligrams, 2.5 milligrams, you start to cop the nasty effects. And if you've used alpha-himbine, you'll know what I mean, in terms of like, you get like a cold sweat, jittery, ill, salivary type feeling. I know it sounds very weird to say, but you will know it if you've used it, believe me. 1 milligram is a nice dose, I say, because you get the benefits in terms of like the kick, the energy, the wakefulness from it, but without those side effects, generally speaking. But again, take that with a pinch of salt. You can't always say for sure. But yeah, I'm happy to see it at that dose, basically, is what I'm saying. Another energy kick, another stimulant. It's a packed one, this one, guys. And I think I can start to feel it, because I'm going to call myself out on chatting baloney now. I feel like I'm talking forever. So anyway, I'll leave it there. That's the label wrapped up. I think it's very impressive from a high stim standpoint. I definitely think at least it lives up to the quote on the front about the hardcore energy pump and focus. But how will it come together as we actually get our butt down the gym? I'll be right back in the effects section in probably a few hours' time, and I'll let you know what I think. And obviously I'll talk to Aaron about what he thinks of it, and I'll let you know in terms of like if you can sleep and things like that. So be right back. Okay, let's get right down to it. Effects of legit pre-workout. And we always laugh about the effects section of these high stim ones, because you'd expect them to be super high energy and bouncy, but the reality is you train so hard on them, you smash the hell out of your training session. By the time you're done and you get back home, you're just absolutely dead to the world. So I've had to take a few minutes to, you know, compose myself to put this effects section together, because I did train like a loon on this stuff. So anyway, the question we're all asking, is it legit, like the name? If you're asking, is it legit in terms of is it all above board? No. If you're asking, is it legit as in does it live up to the claims and is it strong AF? Yes. Let's start off like we always do with the beta-alanine. It's in there at the dose we look for, but surprisingly you don't feel it all too much. And I think that's because there's just so much else being thrown at you in this formula when you drink it, that the beta-alanine doesn't really get a chance to shine. You feel it to a degree, maybe around a 5 out of 10, but then it's quickly shoved to the side because everything else just comes in so damn quick. Obviously the caffeine citrate is almost instantaneous. All the other stimulants and nootropics follow shortly after. It's surprising how fast it actually hits you, this one. I would say you feel it, you probably could tell from the label section, within 5 minutes of drinking it, in terms of like, you're like, oh okay, something's happening. And it seems crazy to think 5 minutes, that seems too soon. But for me, unless it's placebo effect, that's how I felt at least. 10 minutes goes, you know, even more energy, heart rate start to go up, you feel that something's starting to come in. I would say 15, 20 minutes and you're pretty much like, yeah, here we go. I can feel something a bit above and beyond just a normal pre-workout, if you catch my drift. Because we've always said illicit stimulants take a little bit longer to kick in, and what we always say on that note is try to sit as still as possible after you've drank the pre-workout. We really do strongly believe that that affects how well it hits. So yeah, if you're taking the pre-workout and training immediately after drinking it, or flapping around and, you know, cracking on with things, then you're not really giving your body a chance to digest it properly. So we've always said it with any pre-workout, not just high stim ones, try to chill out as much as you can. I know it seems a bit counterintuitive after you've taken a pre, but just trust us, chill out for a good 20-30 minutes. You know, if you're driving to the gym, then that would count as your chill out time, and let your body really soak it up and get it moving. And it's no different here. So I would say after 30-40 minutes, everything's firing. You know, all of the ingredients are fully kicked in, you're firing on all cylinders, and you're good to go. And I would say, just right off the bat, this pre-workout, from a stim junkie perspective, I really like it. I really like the fact that the caffeine isn't overblown. It's still around the middle tier for caffeine for pre-workouts, but then they've built on that with all these other stimulants. So it doesn't leave you like completely stimmed off your chops from an energy perspective, in terms of like ridiculously high heart rate and can't sit still-ism. It's definitely more down the focus mental route, very much so, as you might glean from the formula. So yeah, it's a hella strong pre-workout. To give you a rough idea, I would say that it definitely holds its own amongst the other higher stim pre's. You know, it's going to be an obvious, people are going to probably ask it in the comments, so I may as well just say it now. It's definitely comparable to the likes of Dark Labs and other pre-workouts of that nature in terms of its potency. Yeah, anyway, let's start off with the energy first of all. So I would say it lasts a good couple of hours in terms of like the physical energy, 2 to 3 hours. And then there is a physical come down after that, but it's not, I mean, you can see me here, I'm talking to you just fine. It's not a nasty crash, but you definitely do feel the drop off, because obviously prior to that you're in cloud, you know, you're on cloud 9 flying, so of course you're going to feel a degree of come down. And on that same perspective, I would say that it doesn't give you, you don't feel it too heavily for the rest of the day compared to some other ones I've taken. You do feel it definitely, don't get me wrong, from a mental perspective more than anything, but it's not like redonkulously strong for the rest of the day like some other ones. And obviously, like I touched on earlier, I've gone back and forth with Aaron and got what his opinion is of this pre-workout in the couple of times he's used it, and we do align, as we do on most pre-workouts, luckily. So yeah, he had a similar sort of experience to me. Anyway, the star of the show, like I said, is definitely that focus, drive, dialed in feeling. There is definitely that floatiness there where you know you've taken something illicit. Weights feel light. You feel on top of the world in your gym session. You feel like a demigod, you know, Kratos himself smashing through your gym session. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if anyone who took this smashes their PBs on the day that they take it. It really does just make you feel like a force to be reckoned with in the gym. It's really, really good. I would say actually it straddles that line between like a serious stim junkie pre that you'd actually train seriously on and smash your gym session, and a recreational kind of fun one. Because you, like I said, you do get that floaty element and that euphoric feel, but it's not, it doesn't overshadow the work ethic that it gets you putting in. So it doesn't completely take you out of the training. I feel like if you're inexperienced, don't even look at it. You know, if you're a beginner to pre-workouts or even intermediate, I really wouldn't risk it. But if you do feel compelled to, then please do start half a scoop. I would say it's perfect for stim junkies, obviously, and people that are advanced users of pre-workouts that want to step into the stim junkie realm. It obviously gets our stamp of approval in terms of it is one of those DMHA-esque pre-workouts, you know, with that typical type of feeling that they're hard to get hold of these days, aren't they? So this is one that we can put our stamp of approval on, that it is that, you know, they're not lying on the label or anything. Geranium extract, that's a bit tricky for me to say yes it's in there, no it's not, because it's thrown in with a bunch of other potent stimulants. So I wouldn't be able to say one way or the other, but there's definitely DMHA in it to my understanding. And it would, you know, who knows with the geranium? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe it's in there the dose it says. Maybe it's in there a lower dose. I'm not too sure. I can't honestly say. but there is something in it that makes it ridiculously strong. So do not underestimate it on that standpoint. Now, pumps, normally we're like, well, high stim pre-workout, who really cares about pumps, yada, yada, yada. And I would normally say, you know, you get pumped from the work ethic it gets you putting in. And don't get me wrong, that is still true here. However, there are a lot of decently dosed as well, pump ingredients in this formula that do come through and shine. So I was getting some seriously nasty pumps alongside that energy kick and super dialed in focus. So yeah guys, it really does tick every box you could possibly want from a high stim pre, from the pumps to focus to energy. And it doesn't just tick the box, it really, you know, almost maxes it out. It really does give you, throws everything at you that you need to have a ridiculously potent gym session. But don't just use this willy-nilly on any old gym day. I would say perhaps reserve it for the hardcore, heavy, longer gym sessions. Aim to take it earlier on in the day if you can, unless you're an absolute nutcase, because yeah, Aaron did warn me that you will be kept up all night if you take it, you know, too late in the afternoon, evening sort of time. So I would say you don't really want to be taking it any later than after lunch. So yeah, like I said, you do definitely feel the background nootropic-y effect for the rest of the day, but just not as ridiculous as some other high stim pre's that I've had in the past, which is good. It's a good thing for me, because you don't want to be completely bent out of shape for the rest of the day, do you? Unless that's your thing. So yeah, it's ticking every single box and exceeding it at that as well. Negatives, I would say that it definitely makes you thirsty. There's no denying it. There is an element of nausea to it, I would say, if you go a bit too berserk, and I don't necessarily blame that on the pre itself, entirely at least. I blame it to a degree as well how hard it gets you training, because you train like such a lunatic that you probably would make yourself ill, because it's almost like it removes the red line from the rev meter, so you can just off the charts if you're not careful. You don't actually realise how potent you're training on it until after the set, and you're like, bloody hell, I could have kept going forever seemingly. So you do feel like an absolute beast training on this stuff. I had such a good back and bicep session on it. So yeah, honestly guys, really like it. It's 100% worth that price point. And I just think it comes together so nicely in reality. Like Homelander, insert the Homelander meme.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Yeah, really good. I highly recommend it. So do go on and check it out if this is your cup of tea. Like I said, beginners swerve it unless you've got a death wish. Stim junkies, get stuck in, because it is gonna be right up your alley. Like I said, it's up there with some of the best of them, if that's what you're after. Yeah, I think that is everything. I think I've covered it all. In terms of other negatives, sorry, whilst I'm on that, I'm a bit flappy with this review because it's blowing my head off. There is some appetite suppression linked to it, okay? So depending on whether you're on a cut or a bulk, that may or may not be a good thing. So like now it's dinner time and I'm not all too hungry, but I am just gonna get the food in me because that's what we have to do. So yeah, that could be a plus or a negative, but yeah, I think that actually does cover everything. Yeah, energy, focus, pumps, negatives, buy it. Yeah, you know the deal, guys. If there's anything I have missed, you know, fire away with questions in the comments and I'll be happy to address them. But yeah, let us know if you used it. Let us know if you want to use it. If you want to use it, tell us your favourite high stim pre-workout of all time, or at least one that's still available now. And yeah, as always, stay stimmed. You will.